cartoonists all over India and all over the world. Actually, we have organized for 14 years International Mayakamat Memorial Awards cartoon contest. And they were very popular actually. Every year we distributed 1.5 cash prizes for the winners, Indian cartoonists and foreign cartoonists. We used to get more foreign cartoons for the international cartoon than Indian cartoons. At this place, we have conducted the more than 25 free cartoon workshops for budding cartoons. People have come from all over India to get training here. Today, Foundation Cartoon Workshop, we have given 500 certificates for that. And we have connected lots of more than 4,000 cartoons, which is catering the students from various universities from Kolkata to Delhi, Chennai, Bangalore. The people are coming here with PhD works and paper presentation and some research works in cartoon. And this way we are going ahead, and next year we started this Indian cartoonist in 2001. For your good information, sir, in 2015, Mr. Ravi of your into Australians was chairing a function for an exhibition. That was an exhibition of Goda, a young lawyer who did cartoons, pictures and Lola. And her contribution is were conducted, and for this gallery was luminaries and judges, the lawyers from Chennai, from Bangalore, from all over. It was on Sunday actually. And Mr. Rama was also there at the gallery that day. And that was an event we remember it. Bona Rahman is a daughter of four army government. Being planned, that's it. And recently, 3 years, we have been publishing an annual magazine. It is on part of our institute. We're having collecting all the information regarding the rich history of cartooning in India and the world, and making it available for research works, research students and academicians made all the things.
Requesting you to say a few words. I have reached an age in life where you can't really call it old age, but nor can you call it youth. So I think that in between age, which is, for want of a better word, I would say anecdote age. So I'm only tempted to introduce anecdotes as part of my talk, even in this particular stage, because that's now become my habit. As I stand here, my mind goes back to more than 30 years ago. And the occasion was I was a faculty member at the Institute for Financial Management and Research, and the Hindu Kasturi and Sons had decided to launch a business newspaper, and they had even recruited an initial set of journalists. So between the time they recruited and the time that the paper was going to be actually formally published, so there was a sort of an informal orientation and training program. And as part of that orientation and training program, they approached the Institute for Financial Management and Research to conduct a training program on how to analyze company balance sheets and what are the things that the discipline of finance that a journalist, especially a business journalist, would need to know. So they came to us, and as luck would have it, I happened to be the coordinator of the program. And so I was designing the timetable, and one of my best qualifications for designing the timetable and coordinating the program was that I had absolutely no experience with journalism. And I think that was probably an advantage in the sense you can always say I came with some freshness in the approach to training journalists or would-be journalists. Some of them are actually would-be journalists, although quite a few of them were pretty seasoned journalists. So my mind goes back to that time, and it was a coffee break, and as you know, expected of a coordinator, I was generally moving around with the participants, and I sat opposite Ravikanth, and I didn't even know his name at the time. So, what will you be doing? So he said, I'm going to be a cartoonist for business life. So I was telling myself, oh, how unfortunate, I mean, that he's going to be a cartoonist, that in a business newspaper. But I mean, that was only a reflection of my ignorance, but at the same time, the sagacity of Mr. Ware Wah, who actually thought that a business newspaper should also have a cartoonist on its roles. So I sort of mentally commiserated with Ravikanth. So all the best. I thought, I mean, to be fair to myself, I assumed that cartoon is also always about politicians and general news and stuff like that. And there isn't much scope in a business newspaper for cartooning. But for the last 30 plus odd years, Ravikanth has been proving me wrong. And I'm very happy to admit that having actually watched his progress over all these years, that I'm happy to be proved wrong. And he has updated himself in a manner that has actually opened my eyes to possibilities. And I also asked him as to how is it that he chosen only cartoons from the last 3 years? Because I knew his credentials go far, far back in time to the last 3 years. But he said, no, people don't connect with something that happened 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But I would differ with him on this one point. These cartoons are always long-lasting, and they have really no expiry date. And I can prove it to you from my own personal knowledge and experience that when I think of R.K. Lakshman, there is one cartoon. I mean, since many of you are very, very young and do not probably have known the context and the background, this was the year 1977, and the Janata Party had won this rounding election to the Lok Sabha. And there was, of course, the usual confusion about who is going to be the Prime Minister, who is going to be the Finance Minister, and all that. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, the late Prime Minister, was at that time chosen as the Foreign Minister. And since every country was very curious to know what this strange animal that has now come to power for the first time in New Delhi, so there was invitations galore for Vajpayee as the Foreign Minister. And of course, Vajpayee also being what he is, loves to interact with people, go around and so on. So it was actually more foreign as a minister rather than an Indian minister looking after foreign affairs. So there was naturally a lot of criticism about it at that time. And so R.K. Lakshman had a cartoon with Patch of India around that time. And it had Vajpayee like a caricature in the cartoon. And the caption comment said, of course, what a stupid question. The ministers of foreign countries do not go abroad because they are already there. Now, I can assure you that it elicited a spontaneous laughter in me at the time, and it has stayed with me in my mind. And so when Ravikanth requested me to come over for this exhibition, I realized that I must share this with the audience, and so I'm sharing it. And another example that I would give to show that good cartoons have no expiry date and they are long lasting as long as you are around. And in that context, I would also like to give one more example, this time from a different cartoonist who was just as famous as Akshay Lakshman. And this is Abu Abraham, who used to do cartoons for Indian Express. And the period was 69, 70, thereabout. There was a lot of talk about when the Congress split into two separate groups, and people were already identifying two separate groups, one led by Indira Gandhi, who was the Prime Minister, and another one which represented the old guard of the Congress party. And at that time, Indira Gandhi created a bogey of foreign agents having captured the Indian policy formulation and decision making in the country. And so in those days, and as it continues to be even today, the whipping boy for all kinds of espionage activities is always the CIA. So there was the CIA this, CIA that, and of course there was some basis for that suspicion, but let's not go into that. But it's a fact that this was a hot button issue in the 69 to 71 before Indira Gandhi established an unquestioned authority over the Congress party. So at that time, so the CIA bogey was there all around, and everybody was using that occasion to make a reference to the CIA. So I have to have a slightly funny take of that. So he had a cartoon, and the cartoon had a figure. There's a perfect Pakha Cambram, complete in a Panchagit dhoti, and then a tusk at the back. And, typical 60-plus band, Mylapur Brahmin, if those of you who are familiar with Tamil Nadu will know that what Mylapur Brahmin would be. Probably the nearest in Karnataka would be the Madhyam Iyengars. So, the cartoon said, it had Umar Shankar Dikshit and Shankar Dayal Sharma. One was in a traditional, the dhoti kurta. I think Shankar Dayal Sharma was the more orthodox of the two. And Umar Shankar Dikshit was the more cosmopolitan kind of a person, and he was in his coat and trousers. And the caption comment said, "I only said my name was CIN," and the cartoon had the two people running away from the gentleman. So I mean, this again was a very clever wordplay. And so cartoons are timeless, Ravi. I would like to once again reassure you. So the next exhibition that you have should have cartoons going all the way back to '94. Yeah. But Ravi's repertoire of cartoons has really done justice to what the newspaper stands for. We have always been at the forefront of themes and subjects much before it becomes a fashion. And that is reflected in the cartoons that you see of the last 3 years. Things on marketing, things on artificial intelligence, things on human resources function. You name it, and I think you have a cartoon on the theme, which captures the essence of that particular moment. You can even now, relate to those things, no matter that they are now, some of them are 3 years old or some of them are 2 years old. So therefore, the spring of creativity that is in him, and the ability to capture it in the form of a sketch and with a very, very appropriate comment at the bottom. All of that is endowed with its abundant measure, and I would like to take this occasion to once again wish that may there be many, many more years of happy cartooning, not only for his own personal professional satisfaction, but also for the thousands and thousands of readers all across the country. So all the best, Ravi, and thank you all, and I wish that more and more people will come in the next 1 month or so. Thank you.
reminding me. You talked about Auntie Lakshman. I believe he was Ravikanth's title as well. And by sheer coincidence, Lakshman was in the office in Business Economic on the eve of our launch. January, the first issue was January 28, 1994. 27th, he happened to be in Chennai, happened to be in our office. And of course, he was a big guy in he was a close friend of mine, cousin Sulayana. So he had come to see him. And then he knew this new newspaper was being launched. And we brought him to the business line office. And when I asked him, would you do a cartoon for us? First day, it'd be great to have your cartoon. And immediately I sensed that he's a Times of India person, competitor, and asked him, would your newspaper permit you? What the hell? So he did do a cartoon. Sat down with photograph also.
Yeah, when he actually sat on my desk and wrote out for David, we have, I think I shared the photograph of Caricature for
Yeah, the story is not complete.
yeah.
The first essay of the startup was Caricature of
One more.
Finance Minister then. He wasn't satisfied with it, tore it up into bits, and put it in the waste paper basket. And then went on to sketch again. The story about which is most interesting is about the waste paper basket. The crumpled paper was quickly picked up by Ravi, and he put the puzzle back, and that cartoon is still in it.
No, that got over time. He used the sketch pen, so over time it got discolored and failed. But it was there on in the room for a long time. I think someone played for.
No, we have a digital image of that thing, which is essentially a patched up version of the original cartoon that was torn away by Mr. Lally.
That's a nice memory.
We have a digital memory, digital image, it's still available.
So that was the story of our beginnings with Ravi. Someone mentioned that for a business newspaper to have a cartoon was rare. But let me tell you that my hunch was confirmed only because Ravikanth flew motions. For 25 years, he's been enthralling business line leadership with his laconic view of the business world and the wit that goes with it. It was amazing. And all of us must be thankful to him for having and he's still going strong. Wish him all the best.
Well, for coming over here for at least all these.
Freedom?